Sharing my story is not something that I thought I would ever do. When I was younger, I don't know if it was the shame, the embarrassment, or me not even being able to formulate the words, but I just thought it was going to be a secret that I would die with. As I got older, I created more and more circumstances for me to feel safe to tell my story. But that didn't happen truly until November 2022, when I was able to share with my family that I was sexually assaulted from the ages of 5 to 13, not by a stranger, but by someone who was really ingrained within my family, although I was not related to them. It was someone who my parents saw as a second son, who my siblings saw as a brother, who I went to church with, who was involved in every holiday and birthday, who lived next door to me. It was someone I couldn't escape. And since then, it's been a secret that has weighed heavily. My therapist told me that throughout healing, this thing can be insidious. So I may be able to share with my friends. I may be able to recognize different patterns, but no matter what, unfortunately, there are things that come up, whether it's my communication skills and me not being able to communicate the simplest things with a friend, with a family member, with someone at work, my body jolting every time an elevator opens, when a waiter brings something and drops it on the table. To me, even being able to feel safe in my body when I'm out on the town with friends is just something that I've been struggling to deal with. And so I knew it was something that I needed to share. In addition to the person being ingrained into my life and my family's life, their mother was also the closest adult to me outside of my parents. She encouraged me, she supported me, she called me Princessa because my name is Jasmine, a la Princess Jasmine. And she introduced one of my favorite things to me, which was dancing. And I would go to her house and we would dance. At church, we would praise dance. And it became one of the biggest joys in my life. And so the dichotomy of having one of the closest people to you also be the person who brought into the world your abuser was something that I struggled with as well. And so holding all of that in, I didn't know how to speak about it. I didn't know how to deal with it. And as I got older, I just tried to pretend like it wasn't happening. And a lot of people in my life, when I was younger, they would tell me how talkative I was. I was someone, based on videos and just knowing myself, I love being in front of the camera. My dad had a video camera. I love to dance. I love to sing. I would break out in impersonations. And as I got older, I became more and more closed off. I only opened up to very few friends, even family that were adults I wouldn't really talk to. I became my own superhero. Anytime I was in trouble, anytime I needed to do anything, I became the person in every aspect of my life to take care of it, because I knew deep down inside, I thought that the hardest thing that I've dealt with, I didn't trust anyone to be able to help me with it. And I didn't believe they would be able to come through. And so I had to be that person for myself. And ironically, for other people, I became the person that friends and family could vent to and talk to, and I could problem solve. But I didn't know how to ask for that help. I was scared. I didn't know how to do it. After going to therapy In learning not to blame myself, I was able to open up and tell friends. I learned that I was disconnected from a lot of my emotions, so I learned how to not only internalize them, but to externalize them. I was able to focus on things outside of it since it wasn't this big barrier in addition to it. But as I began to address other areas of my life, I knew that my abuse, the trauma, and the impact that it had in all different aspects of my life was the root cause, and not being able to tell those closest to me, like my family, caused a lot of disconnection from those relationships. I also dealt with depression and still do, anxiety. I am diagnosed as an insomniac just because of when the abuse happened, and it interrupted my sleep and so many other things because the body keeps score and trauma is stored in the body. November 22, I was able to have a conversation with my family, and for years I put it off because I just knew that I wasn't going to like the reaction. And for the most part, I didn't feel supported in the way that I thought that I would be able to support people, and I've shown that I've been able to support them. I didn't feel heard or cared for. And even though I was an adult and I was responsible for myself, I think I held on to this for so long and lowered the expectations so low by the time it happened and they met them. I was just truly disappointed. And I knew that they all had relationships with this person, but that became the center of everything and not what I actually went through, how it's impacting me, and how it shows up in the relationships that I have with all of them. And so after that, I just thought that was going to be the thing that kept me and opened me up. So I made a plan before I even told them that I was going to focus on my healing and center that in me telling them and start my own liberation journey. I felt so disconnected from my body, from my mind, from my spirit. And as I started to do healing the last few years before I told them, I knew that this would be the biggest step for me to be the best version of myself and have that last thing checked off the box. And so I started getting into my body. I started kickboxing. I started working out with a trainer. I started pole dancing. I tried improv. I would take walks, and half of the time I would be crying, walking around the lake, walking around the nature preserves. But I did anything to connect with nature, connect with myself. I would journal. I attempted to take singing lessons, and I was in a fashion show, a fashion hair show, and just did anything that connected me back to my inner child and allowed me to center myself and put myself in the spotlight, which I've been hiding from since I was a little kid. And I did not want to be seen, and I dimmed my light. I ran for office, and I've been taking my power back ever since. And so, to little Jazzy, the one who liked to sing, the one who liked to dance, you're still there. And I can't wait for everything that's in store for you in this lifetime.